Hi, my name is Justin Williams. I'm a professor here in biomedical engineering at the University of Wisconsin, and I'm going to go through the patent application process in general, as well as specifically what you as a student or employee of UW have to go through to patent something here with WARF, or the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation. WARF is entitled to handle all of the patent applications of employees here at UW, and so it's good to know the specifics of how to get that initiated. The first thing you want to ask yourself whenever thinking, do I have something to patent, seems quite obvious. Do you have something to patent? That is, do you have a device? Do you have a process? Do you have software? Or even things like new biological entities can technically be patented. So you have to make a decision there, and that process falls into one of three steps. First of all, you have to make sure that what you're trying to patent is novel. Has someone done something very similar or exactly the same? So you have to go through and search and make sure that even though you don't think that anyone has ever done it, there's quite a bit of literature and you have resources here at the UW through the library to go and do patent searches as well as literature searches to see if what you're doing is actually novel. The other requirement of a patent is that it actually be useful, and that prevents people from flooding the patent office with ideas that may or may not ever actually be used. So in general, it would be nice, and I don't think that that's usually a problem with the types of things that we do in the engineering college, but it must be useful to someone. And then the other requirement that isn't always as obvious is what we call that the patent has to be non-obvious, that someone in your field, and people in your field, of course, are going to be highly technical, especially in the engineering or even at the research level. That person equivalent to your field, a layperson in your field, could not have come up with the same idea given what's known about the field. And this is a little bit tricky, and this is usually where WARF may step in and help you through that process. The other thing to think about once you've decided, again, do I have something to patent? Does it meet those three basic requirements? You have to figure out, is the patent just mine, or are there other people that also deserve credit for this? And this is a requirement because the U.S. Patent Office technically can disallow a patent if you have not included all the inventors, and if they have not agreed to the fact that they think it should be patented, they can disallow the patent. And on the flip side, if you've included someone who doesn't deserve to be on the patent, is also grounds for dismissal. So before actually going through the patent process, you have to think about who was involved, what were their roles, and were they substantial to either the idea itself and the conception of the idea, or actually making that idea a reality. So once you've gone through those steps, one, do I have something patentable? Two, have I identified everyone who should be listed as a patent inventor? Then you can go to WARF and do what we call a disclosure. That is, you go through exactly those steps. You write down all the reasons why you think this is patentable and why it would be useful, and then list all the inventors. And through a secure version or portal on their website, you can actually then submit that disclosure to WARF, and then they will review it. At this point, WARF goes through many of these disclosures every month. They will decide both whether they think your patent meets all the requirements, as well as whether they think it has enough of a potential financial impact that they would be willing to invest in funding the patent process. The patent process is quite expensive, can cost tens of thousands of dollars, so they need to make hard decisions every month to decide whether your particular idea is worth patenting. Not is it patentable, but is it worth them spending the money on. Now, in some cases, they will decide that yes, it's patentable, but no, they're not interested. At that point, they will actually relinquish the rights to the patent so that you could patent it on your own. So a lot of times they are more interested in things that have a larger financial stake, where you may still be interested in patenting it for your own sake. And again, at that point, they would relinquish that, and you'd be free to pursue the patent on your own. If they decide that what you have is patentable and they're interested in it, then they will then schedule a meeting with you and the other co-inventors with a patent attorney to start to gather information. In general, again, they want to give as much information so that they can both convince themselves and the patent office that you meet the requirements, as well as then to start to draft an actual application. So again, they will start to ask questions about how you came up with the invention, when did you come up with it, who was involved and when, who you think might buy your invention if you actually were able to make it work, and any other related inventions that you may know of. Again, because a patent can also be issued on improvements to existing devices, and so again, this is a useful time in which WRF can guide you through that process. So at this time, again, they're going to gather this information. They will then come back to you with either a decision that, yes, what we have is patentable, meets all the requirements, we're still interested, and we want to go forward with actually drafting an application. There can be events in the meantime where they may find other prior art that exclude your patent. Again, and this would qualify as part of the patent process in which we're trying to find out, is it obvious to someone else in the field? That is, could someone else read a related subject and figure out exactly what you did without really coming up with anything new or novel? The other thing they're going to look for is to make sure that you yourself haven't given away the patent in some way. And this is very, very important. Because if, for example, you published a research article and disclosed during that article some of the subtleties of the patent, that could disallow, that is, it could reduce the novelty of what your idea is, because it's no longer novel, because any person could go and read that article and figure out exactly what it was that you were trying to do. So again, it's very important in that respect to go to WRF early with your ideas to make sure that you don't accidentally give something away, either at a seminar, in a paper, or even just with discussions with people from other universities or companies. At this point then, again, if your idea has met all these requirements, you will meet with lawyers who are hired by WRF to draft the application. Again, this is a process that can take some time and often be confusing, but again, this is why being at the University of Wisconsin makes things much easier, because WRF has people who can help guide you through that process. And at that point, they will actually submit the patent, and they can submit it to several places. Usually they will submit it to the US Patent Office, which is fairly straightforward. They may also try to protect your international rights by, again, submitting it to other countries as well. And those processes are different, but in this case, we'll kind of concentrate on the US patent process, because that's the one that is most likely going to happen. Again, the application will be drafted by one of the WRF lawyers. They will send it off to the US Patent Office, and then there will be a substantial amount of time in which your patent application gets into the lineup with every other patent application until an examiner can actually get through and read it and make a determination on whether he agrees, whether your patent meets all these requirements. And so patents often have many parts. That is, you're claiming many different things, even if it's just one device. For example, a device may have many, many parts, each of which is patentable in its own right. And so he may make a determination then, are all the things you're claiming, are those all meet the criteria? Do some of them meet it, do some of them not? And then he will return his opinion in written form, in the form of an action item, or office action item, that will be returned to WRF. At this point, then you would then meet with the lawyers again to see if as a whole, whether you as the inventor and the lawyers and other WRF staff agree with the opinion of the patent examiner. And this process can go back and forth several times to try to, again, convince the patent office that what you have is patentable and should be protected. Eventually, again, this process can take several years, unfortunately, mainly because of the backlog of the US Patent Office and the sheer growth in the scientific and engineering industries in the United States. But eventually, hopefully, you would be issued then a patent that contained the claims that was agreed upon that were actually patentable. Unfortunately, this is not normally where a patent stops. A patent is often said only to be real once it's been challenged. So often, at some point, you will try, or a company may be interested in licensing your patent from WRF. They will then try to market that technology, and at some point, some other group may say, we think our patent actually contains many of the same elements, and the patent can be then challenged. And again, and hopefully the challenge will stand up, and that's the real test as to whether an idea that you came up with actually meets all the requirements. So hopefully that will give you a quick introduction to the patent process, and of course much more information can be found about this by going directly to WARF's website, where they have many tools that can again help answer other questions, or you can merely get started again by going and putting in a disclosure with one of their licensing managers.